Good morning.
Good morning.
So let's see here. The title of this talk is Will the Moon Conquer the Earth? Some of you, not too many, maybe just 2 or 3 have heard this talk. I gave it during a retreat here some months ago. Talks during retreats are normally not recorded or posted. And there was some stuff in it that I was working with and that I've continued to work with. And so I've played with it a little bit and I'm now offering it here. So why am I saying that? I think I'm saying that because I don't know how the other teachers feel, but if I'm writing something particularly for a retreat container versus writing something particularly for this container, I tend to do slightly different things. Not better or worse, I'm just aware the audience is in a different state, and usually it's a different size, and there's something about a retreat container that makes me feel like I have to be, but I don't need to be as logical. It doesn't need to, it can just kind of go right in. And we don't take questions during retreats after the talk, so talks don't necessarily move up into the head where we're doing processing and asking questions and wrestling and struggling. We just sort of let them wash over us. Take what moves us and let the rest keep moving. So this was one of those. So I'll do my best. So the quotes that are on your program, and I'll read aloud for those of you who are joining us from a distance this morning. We've got 2 quotes. The first is from Dogen. When we become intimate with our own thinking, delusions become the earth upon which the moon of enlightenment shines. When we become intimate with our own thinking, delusions become the earth upon which the moon of enlightenment shines. And the second quote is the same thing, just in a very different voice, from Master Rumi. We are the mirror as well as the face in it. We are tasting the taste this minute of eternity. We are pain and what cures pain both. We are the sweet cold water, and we are the jar that pours. So delusion and enlightenment aren't opposites. That's where we're starting. Delusion and enlightenment aren't opposites, just like love and hate are not opposites. Enlightenment has no opposite, just like love has no opposite. If you notice stuff moving in you, good. Let it move in you. Pay attention to that for the rest of the talk. Don't pay attention to me. That's way more important. I'm only saying that because we're not normally used to thinking this way. Right? I mean, it's kind of standard. Oh, enlightenment's over here, and delusion's over here, and love is over here, and hate's over here. Isn't that nice? Boom. So when that's directly challenged by quotes like Rumi, by quotes by Dogen, hearing me say enlightenment and delusion are not opposites, if you start to feel part of your go, good. That's fine. That's fine. But please pay attention to that. That is actually way more important than what I'm going to keep saying. So, indeed, delusion exists as an inevitable part of our dukkha, our human experience of being in form, in time and space. Delusion is the third poison in Buddhism. Indeed, hate exists, the second poison, as an inevitable part of our dukkha, our human experience of being in form, in time and space. As does greed exist, the first poison, as do other things like hurt and confusion and grief and all that is born from those states. But enlightenment has no opposite. Like love, and when I'm using the word love today, I am using the implied capital L, big love, not French fries love. You know what I mean. All right. Big L. Like love, enlightenment is not a finite experience that has specific boundaries and any certain qualities that we can set up in opposition to our other experiences. Enlightenment is an absolute, the absolute, and in this room we call it Buddha. Enlightenment is not a finite experience that has specific boundaries and certain qualities that we can set up in opposition to our other experiences. So my water glass this morning and its water are not opposites. The sweet cold water and the jar that pours. Please don't try to set up parts of yourself in opposition to other parts. That was the first sentence that I wrote of the talk. And again, I wrote it because people are going to be sitting in meditation for hours and hours and hours during a retreat, during a session, for hours and hours and hours, for that day, for that weekend, for that week. And so they're paying really close attention to their internal experience. And I know that they're going to, just like I do, just like all of us do, set up parts of ourselves in opposition to other parts. We're not aware that we're doing it, but we do. Well, there's a busy mind part of myself. I should probably set up some other part in opposition to that to see if I can get rid of that if I could. Wouldn't that be nice? Well, there's some sadness. Maybe there must be another part that will take care of that or get rid of it or conquer it or eclipse it or cover it. The part of me that gets irritated when my neighbor's breathing heavy or clearing her throat all the time. Can you feel there's just oppositional. Oh, there's my greed. I see my greed. I got to find some enlightenment to be in opposition to that. Maybe enlightenment will win if it's big. That's why I'm here, to make my enlightenment really big. Ooh, right? And my greed shows up and then I'll have something I can rur. Right? This is just how we think. This isn't us failing. There's not a judgment in this. It's just noticing, right? It's kind of cool to notice, oh, there's those two parts of me that are in opposition to one another, and I'm the one who's noticing them. Oh, it must mean I'm neither. I'm the one who's noticing them. Please don't set up parts of yourself in opposition to other parts. There is no conflict between love and hate in you. There is no conflict between enlightenment and delusion in you. Please look more closely at your actual felt experience. This is not a head thing. Be very still, look very closely, feel very acutely, relax, notice. Look in the mirror. That's the wall we face, right? That's the mirror in this room, the wall we face when we sit zazen. Taste deeply. That means get really close. to your experience. All of you do this. You know what I'm talking about. That's tasting deeply, right? You will apprehend it directly, just as all masters have. There is no war to be found. So let's go back to our opening quote from Dogen. Delusions become the earth upon which the moon of enlightenment shines. So Dogen here is using our standard Zen metaphor, the moon, for enlightenment. It is a beautiful metaphor. I think it's a profound one. And as usual, Dogen's words are very carefully chosen and very precisely chosen. I am aware that we're working with a translation of those words, right? So I have to add a bunch of stuff that wasn't intended, and a bunch of stuff that was intended is lost. I get it. That's just part of translation, right? But I got what I got. So we will use those words, we'll relate to those words as carefully and precisely as we are able, just to honor the intention of the person who wrote them. When we become intimate with our thinking, delusions become the earth upon which the moon of enlightenment shines. So, is the earth the opposite of the moon in that quote? Is that what he's asking us to see? Are they opposites? Are they in tension with another? Is there a war taking place? Is one going to win? This is actually a really important question. This has so much to do with the spirit of how we observe in this tradition, right? Are the earth and the moon at war with each other? Of course not. But this is how we traditionally think. This is how egoic consciousness operates. It's good to notice that. Don't fight it, or you're right back to where you started. Right? We're not here to conquer. We're here to notice. Oh, I understand. This is how you operate. There are your parameters. These are your patterns. I get it. I get it. There you are. Ooh, what a sharp knife you are. I bet I could use you skillfully to cut out some cancer. I bet I could use you skillfully as a healing tool. I bet if I'm not careful, I also can notice weaponizing that very same thing. That's why it's so important to get close to it, to really understand how we do this and why we do this, right? So this is how we normally think. We're going to imagine that the earth and the moon are at war with each other. And we're supposed to identify with the moon and not with the earth. And yet he's going out of his way to say the nature of the moon is to shine upon the earth. That's the nature of the way we pay attention in Zazen, right? So there is no war to be found. It's a little like that bumper sticker, love wins, or love conquers hate. No, it doesn't. That one makes me a little cranky. I mean, I appreciate the spirit of it. Some part of me goes, yeah, man, yeah. I mean, yeah, I get it. Okay, at that level, yay, yes, of course. At that level, yes, I get it, right? Music swell, roll credits, yay. Okay, cool. I mean that. At that level, yes. But the Zen Center. No, love doesn't conquer hate. That doesn't even make sense. Love conquers are two words that wouldn't go together at the beginning of anything, because that's not what it does. We just got through starting the sentence with love, and then we immediately follow it with ooh. Do you feel how we've immediately weaponized it? Oh, how quickly that happens. If there was such a thing as blasphemy in this room, wouldn't that be it? Enlightenment conquering delusion. Can you feel it? Oh man, no. Oh. I mean, it's visceral, isn't it? It is for me. I'm just like, oh man, no, please don't do that. Please, 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 please. Of course, love doesn't conquer hate. Why would it? Love does not need to conquer anything any more than light conquers darkness. Can you feel the constricted understanding in there? Can you hear the anger language? Can you see the opposites and the need to rise above and eliminate? I hope you can see it in the language, but I hope you can feel it as you, right? Because there's a feeling there. There's a feeling there, right? The sky doesn't need to conquer its tornadoes. The ocean doesn't need to defeat its waves. Love is not at war with hate. Enlightenment doesn't need to conquer delusion. All of that is ego thinking. So let's just see it. Let's not judge it, but let's just see it. Oh, that's the way I normally operate. Okay, cool. I'm coming to this room, I'm coming to this place to begin to identify with a part of me that can observe that isn't limited by that isn't caught by that isn't programmed by that. Can you see the patterning in there? Oh yeah, I can start to investigate how that patterning came to be. I come by that honestly, you come by it honestly, right? You come by that honestly. There's no enemies here. It's just recognition of, oh, I see how that function has tried to serve me, but I also see how limiting it is, and I see that I'm not that. There's another way of being, right? Can you feel the freedom in them? And there's not opposition. It's just investigation and interest and fascination and, oh, wow. Suddenly the ego project is really interesting because you're not so caught by it. You're just looking at it. It's just a science experiment. You're just looking at it. Oh, cool. I see how it adapted this little thing. Look how it, oh, look how it, and look how, oh, and it propels itself that way. Oh, and look how it moves away from that thing and moves toward that thing. Wow. Wow, that's really cool. It's okay. It's okay. You're just looking at it. It's just you. It's just your life. I mean, you move away from the stuff you move away from for a reason. You're not nuts. You move toward the stuff you move toward. Oh, look how he likes that stuff. Oh, look at Bussho. Oh, he's really attached to that show. He sure doesn't like that show. Ah, it's fun. There's no enemies there. There's no enemies there. Nobody has to win. There's no winning in Zen. How could there be winning? Doesn't even make sense. Are you starting to feel your way into this a little bit? See, now you're on the retreat. Put your checks in the Donna bowl. Okay. Is the moon coming to conquer the earth? Of course not. I just thought that was a cool title because it sounded like a really bad 50s sci-fi movie. You'll notice that Dogen does not talk in terms of any opposites. There are no words of conflict or even tension. When we become intimate with our own thinking, delusions become the earth upon which the moon of our enlightenment shines. There is no opposition in any of that. Isn't that interesting? That's really cool. There's no implication that the thoughts are going to go away or that they should. Well, you're just shining. Oh, look, that's what light does. It shines and it falls on the stuff it falls on. Is light in opposition to any of that? Well, no, of course not. Well, what? No, of course not. I'm just shining on it. Wow. Does Dogen present the earth as an obstacle to the moon's light? He doesn't, but how many people, okay, don't actually raise your hands. Rhetorically, how many people in this room, the Zoom room as well as this room, have thought, if only my brain would shut up, I could get Zazen done. Wouldn't that be nice? If only the earth were gone, then the moon could finally shine. Oh, wouldn't that be lovely? Right? This is what we do. This is how we set up one part of ourselves in opposition to another part of ourselves. Again, no failure. Just be the noticer of that. Just be the noticer of that. He insists that the moon need only shine, touching it directly with its calming and tender light. What is Dogen's sweet cold water? Intimacy. He uses the word intimacy. Again, I don't know what was translated into our English word intimacy, but when at some point in my Zen training somebody said, oh, one of the words we use for enlightenment in this tradition is intimacy. I did not know where to put that. I was really glad. I wish I could remember who said it. I wish I could remember if I read it. I don't remember where that came from. But that was a really big turning for me. A really big turning for me. Can you get closer to that thing? I really had an idea that we are here to do something that is going to be set up in opposition to something else, and I understand why I thought that way. That's a very common understanding around around spiritual practice in general, religious practice in particular, meditation even more in particular. I'm going to sit down and strengthen those muscles because I am at war with the busy mind. I'm at war with greed and hate and delusion. I'm going to sit under the tree and gather my armies, and I'm going to go up against Mara, and then I'm going to take it out into the world. We go and get ourselves some justice. Can you feel the anger in that? Oh my God, that's at the heart of my practice? Oh no, 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 no. Again, that's not me failing. I'm telling you this because I don't think that my impressions were erroneous. I don't think that I came by them dishonestly. I think, like a lot of us, that I had an idea that oppositional is just the default. Everything is always in opposition, right? The cold is opposite, like this weather outside we're having. That cold is in opposition to June, in my mind, right? And right now it's winning. Oh no! Wow, that's just so how I thought. So when someone said, no, just intimacy. So then I thought, so enlightenment in response to greed would be intimacy with greed? That's an entirely different paradigm than trying to get rid of greed in order to give rise to enlightenment. Do you feel how the mechanism there is different? Wow. So intimacy, there's the yes. There's no war there. There's the yes. The only war, the only struggle in this metaphor that exists is within us, in the know that our humanity is prone to, the first noble truth. But that no is born of an infinite yes. So suffering exists for us, of course, because we're in human form. But suffering isn't first any more than humans are first. Life is first, consciousness is first, Buddha is first, enlightenment and love are first. They were first before we even started to count, so we could actually say they are before first. Indeed, delusion and hate exist. Indeed, in the world, justice is required. Indeed, you will find these things within yourself. And of course, your consciousness is in a human container for a little while here, and that container has loads of karma and loads of very real dukkha. We call that experience being a person. There's our first noble truth. We all know this part. We all know that we are the hurting human body and mind. We all know that we are the clay jar. Does that part feel familiar? When we're reminded of that part of us, that's usually the part that feels really familiar. The part of us that does identify with the anger, that does identify with the pain in the body, that does identify with the hurting of the heart. That's the place we usually imagine as the looker and the seer. It's the place we most commonly occupy. Being a person. What I'm aware of when I say that, before I move on here, what I'm aware of when I say that in a group of other people, and everybody acknowledges and recognizes that, is I feel a sense of connection. I feel a sense of shared experience. It's funny to relate to the First Noble Truth that way, but that's kind of how I relate to it. Human life is characterized by suffering. And I kind of sometimes in my imagination go, I can kind of picture like 8 billion people all going, me too. I can feel that in the saying of that there isn't a war. I just feel all of us nodding together, like, yeah, it is hard, isn't it? It hurts for me too. Isn't it funny that there's beauty in that? I mean, for me, I can actually feel it. But all of us nod. 8 billion of us nod. I'm scared, I'm alone, I'm afraid, I lost somebody I loved. I can't control the stuff that I think hurts me. That 8 billion people go, yeah. And before them, and infinite generations, infinite number of beings all going, yeah. It was hard for us too, all of us. It was hard. Wow. I still don't feel a war in me yet. All I'm doing is just acknowledging, oh, how do I respond to that lovingly? How do I respond to that lovingly? That feels like a very different thing than how do I conquer or break or change or feel it? There is a way of relating to suffering that isn't oppositional, that isn't about conquering, that isn't about excluding or amputating. And for me, it starts with that felt sense. I actually get kind of warm. And then when I get warm, here I can start to trust the movement that's going to come from that. And I also notice when I lose that, I should probably be careful about what I'm about to say or do. Because probably it's going to be less likely to be based on a recognition of our common humanity. It's probably going to be less likely to be based on me wanting to respond lovingly. I'm probably instead going to move up here and probably try to trick myself into thinking, what's the good thing to do here? What's the good thing to do? What would the right thing to be? All the field of opposites, because right has a wrong and good has a bad. Also, who's watching? Who's watching? Who's about to see me do the thing? And you kind of feel it. I've sort of lost a little bit. I've sort of lost contact with something much deeper about myself. I've lost contact with my moon. So the contemporary Zen teacher, Zenju, Earthland Manual, says it this way. In Mahayana Buddhism, there is a notion that once the Buddha became enlightened, we all did. This teaching points us in the direction of not trying to acquire or gain enlightenment, but rather allowing it to meet us along the way. Enlightenment is neither given nor gained. So we are bound to tango with the deluded body-mind. How do you not love tango? Come on. And what a dance it is. Right? She's not shining, she's dancing, but the spirit is the same. When we dive deeply into the tension between enlightenment and delusion, we go beyond our mere ideas. Dogen wrote that even if we think of enlightenment, there will be an aspiration for it. Thought is not an enemy to our endeavors for enlightenment. She's so clear. In fact, it is impossible to dance with enlightenment without the intimate knowing that comes from fully opening to our deluded thinking minds. The word fully there is carrying so much weight, opening fully to that thinking mind. There you are. I wonder if she wrote that after reading the same quote that I'm starting with, because it just seems like right on the nose, right? She's a Zen teacher, so you got to read a lot of Dogen, but just what a beautiful way of saying. One more time, Dogen. We're getting there, folks. We're almost done. One more time. This one a lot of folks know because this is Genjo Koan. He says the same thing over and over and over and over and over. That's one of the kind of blessings about being a Zen teacher, is you don't have to ever think of anything new to say. You have to say it a different way so people think you're saying something different, but it's always the same. So here's Dogen tricking us. Oh, he's got something new. Next week on Dogen. Don't miss it. I bet I know what he's going to say. Yeah, of course he is. He's only got one thing to say. To carry yourself forward and experience myriad things is delusion. That myriad things come forth and experience themselves is awakening. I'm going to read that again. To carry yourself forward and experience myriad things is delusion. That myriad things come forth and experience themselves is awakening. Those who have great realization of delusion are Buddhas. Those who are greatly deluded about realization are sentient beings. Further, there are those who continue realizing beyond realization, who are in delusion throughout delusion. When Buddhas are truly Buddhas, they do not necessarily notice that they are Buddhas. Let that one in. I'll read it again. Sorry, Dogen, I'm interrupting you, buddy. When Buddhas are truly Buddhas, they do not necessarily notice that they are Buddhas. Can you imagine when you're sitting in Zazen and you notice your thinking mind, and you notice your deluded thinking, you notice your greed, and you notice your anger? Come up and you go, oh yeah, there you are. I can shine the light of my awareness on you. I can accept you fully. I can open fully to you. I see that you're there. I understand how you came to be. I can hold you. I can tell what's true and what's not. It's fine. You don't need to go anywhere. You don't need to go anywhere. I'm not at war with you. I'm not at war with you. I'm not at war with you. It's fine. Can you feel that's the activity of Buddha? That's literally Buddha. But I can also imagine if it's any one of us, knuckleheads, right, sitting on a cushion doing that, we're not going to be thinking, wow, I'm doing this thing. Oh, this is the thing. Am I glowing? I'm probably glowing. Oh, this feels amazing. No, because we think enlightenment's a feeling or it's a state or it's a thing that's going to come. And it's like, no, none of that is true. You're just somebody paying attention with kindness. That's it. Wow, was that easy? Of course, that's why I looked past it 1,000 trillion million times, and why Dogen, all those years ago, had to say when Buddhas are truly Buddhas, they do not necessarily notice that they're Buddhas. He did not go on to say, but he probably could have, if you think you are, right? They did not have a word for But he finishes by saying, however, they are actualized Buddhas who go on actualizing Buddhas. So that's for you. That's for you. That is for you. However, you are an actualized Buddha. You go on actualizing Buddhas. That is the activity of enlightenment in the field of space and time. That's all it is. I am the sweet cold water, and I am the jar that pours. Open fully to our deluded thinking mind. Just shine the light of awareness on it. It's so hard to trust that that's enough. I know that. I have a hard time trusting it too. I have a hard time trusting. Just see it. Just see it. That's like all Dogen's saying. Just see it. 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 What I need to do? No. There's no enemy here. Just see it. And I don't trust that it's enough. So my teachers have to tell me over and over and over, Bussho, seeing is a verb. It's a doing. It counts. It counts. You think it's passive. It's not. You're making a choice. You are seeing. It's a verb. That's doing something. It counts. It matters. Come on, man. My teachers say that a lot. Come on, man. That may or may not be true. One last line, and then we are done. This is one of my favorite lines, actually, from Genjo Koan. If you haven't read Genjo Koan, read Genjo Koan. If you haven't chanted Genjo Koan, chant Genjo Koan. It's 10 odd pages. I'm looking around. Some people know, I don't know, 10-ish, roughly, pages. So it's a bit of a long chant, but get it in your bones. Your head won't understand it. I mean, it will eventually, but get it in your bones. It's a bones thing. It's like a long poem. It's beautiful. And it contains this line, which in and of itself makes it worth chanting. No trace of realization remains. And this traceless realization continues endlessly. Do you feel how there's no opposites there? That's not a feeling. He's not describing anything finite that has a beginning or an end. He's not describing anything that's in opposition or at war with anything else. And that realization is yours because it can't possibly belong to anybody else. Quite literally. No matter who you're sitting next to this morning, it's not theirs. Right? No matter what great teacher's book you're currently reading, it's not theirs. It's not Dogen's. Can't be. It is yours though. No trace of your realization remains. And your traceless realization continues endlessly. So, I'm glad the earth and the moon are getting along. I'm glad the clay jar and the sweet water are getting along. I hope you and your deluded mind and your greed and your hate are getting along. Summer and winter getting along. Your in-breath and your out-breath getting along. It's nice. Isn't that nice to know? Or at least be curious about. That's all I got today. Thank you very much. Well, we have a little time. If anybody has anything that they want to offer, you're welcome to do that. Please.
I was thinking about the Dogen quote, and the idea that Buddhists don't know they're Buddhists in the moment. When they're being Buddha, they're just being Buddha.
Yeah.
I was thinking about vacation a couple summers ago. I was staying on a farm, and vacation's coming to a close, and I'm feeling that I have to go back to my life, and I'm like, how do I get the most out of these last couple of days of vacation? It's gonna be gone, I'm going to go back to work in 3 days.
Yes.
And these little dogs every morning would come out from the farm and sit next to me and just sit in the sun. And they were being Buddha. Like, it's just this perfect image of, they were so unself-conscious, just sitting in the sun before they went and did whatever else their day was. I remember just looking at them and thinking, oh, you get it. You get it. You're just here for as long as you're here. You're not trying to get the most out of this, or just feel the sun while you feel the sun and then go do your thing. And it's just beautiful. This little Buddhist. All over the place, so thank you.
It's funny how often we look to animals as kind of exemplars of this, don't we? Isn't it funny? Like dogs are just fully dogging all the time. And that's just like, yeah, they just sort of do that. Which is funny because like they're born and they struggle and live and die just like we do, but they just don't worry about it. Right? I like that. The koan that was assigned to me years ago for the practice period I had to lead when I had to be the shuso. If you know what that word means, you know what that word means. If you don't, it doesn't matter. But I was assigned a koan by my teacher, and he got to sit with it for a long time and then sit in the middle of the room and answer questions about it. It's very high church and very intense. And my koan was, Buddhas and ancestors don't know that it is. Cats and cows know that it is. That was it. It's not even, it wasn't even an interchange. It wasn't even a question. I was like, come on. But I don't know. That's one of the places you could possibly take that as, yeah, well, there you go. The traceless realization of cats. Does anybody else have anything today they want to offer? Please.
Thank you. So maybe in the Western tradition, we're more familiar thinking of the sun is shining on the earth, and the sun and the moon are sort of in opposition. The sun's kind of wisdom and enlightenment, and the moon is kind of more wild and primal.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any thoughts about what Dogen, kind of his choice of using the moon as sort of the enlightenment part as his metaphor, or what would you do out of
There's a whole rabbit hole here I will not go down, but the moon is the traditional Zen, he's using the traditional Zen symbol for enlightenment of the moon. There's a whole talk there, isn't there? But I'm looking at the other teachers who are like, why was the moon chosen as opposed to, because you're right, the solar symbol and the masculine and the lunar symbol and the feminine, and there's a whole bunch of, it's reflected light, and gee, would Dogen have known that the moon is actually, it is the sun, it's just reflected light? That's a talk I would love to give actually, but that talk would be coming from a different place in me. So for the sake of today, I would just say he's using the traditional symbol. He is using the traditional symbol. And I would also suggest that it was chosen with great intent in Zen, that we chose the moon as opposed to the sun. Yeah, I can say on a personal level, without getting up in my noodle too much, what works for me about it is the light is still solar light. I mean, of course it's solar light. But it has a different felt quality to it. It actually feels, this isn't the right word, we're mixing our senses, but it feels softer. I mean, you can't touch, right? But it feels softer. And because it's a metaphor for enlightenment, and I'm in a human body, the fact that it waxes and wanes, and sometimes I see it and sometimes I don't, it's kind of like, yeah, that's starting to feel pretty, you know, the sun is always there, the sun is always there, the sun is always there, the sun is always there. So in a way, the sun is really appropriate metaphor. I mean, it works. But boy, there's a whole bunch there. I really like your question. I'm exercising a lot of self-restraint. My breath has gotten short, my gut is clenching. Like, you guys up for 40 more minutes? Because I just want to take off and really do a Joseph Campbell riff here, but I'm not going to. Does anybody else have anything?
Yeah, I wanted to add something from Zoom.
Please do.
Yeah, I was thinking about what you said about opposition and, you know, the Earth and the moon being opposites. And, you know, I used to be very much in opposition with my own thoughts. And because I had been struggling with depression for a long time, but, you know, recently I've kind of come to the epiphany that, you know, me not being very mindful has been affecting other people, and being more conscious of that, I think, was what led me to come back to the Zen Center. And, you know, since then, I've been feeling like, you know, being more attentive to that mindfulness and being more intimate and embracing of my own thoughts has led to that, you know, sort of enlightenment that, you know, it's not about opposition, it is about being intimate and embracing those thoughts, and only then can you change.
Paul, is it?
Yeah.
No, thank you, Paul. Did folks in the room hear that? Okay, yeah. Thank you. You're not alone in the experience that you're describing, and so I thank you for what you said. In my own experience, it's tough to speak to something like depression skillfully because there's such a scale of how many ways that can show up. But what I appreciate about what you're describing is the decision to turn toward something that we imagine as afflictive is right away relational. And if nothing else, Paul, it underscores the fact that you're the observer of it, but you are not it. It's not to de-reify it, that's not to say it isn't real, but every time we sit in relation to something and say, I will be with you, I will observe you, I'm establishing myself as the one who bears witness. So right away there's something going on there that feels courageous to me. And intimacy with thought, oftentimes, again, in my experience, leads to beginning to see what is substantial in them and what is not substantial in them. And something like really intense emotional states, especially something like depression, when we're gentle enough with thoughts and we're not fighting with them, they do tend to slow. And then we start to see underneath, they're following the contour of a very large body of feeling that actually wants our attention. And only if I'm willing to be intimate with the thoughts that cover that big feeling am I able to go down and touch. I'm getting closer to the wound, if that makes sense. So I really appreciate what you're saying, and I absolutely hope that your practice is able to get you some relationship that leads to freedom. I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Bussho.
Yeah, that's a great one. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bussho.
Yeah.
I really appreciate your talk.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, please, call.
Yeah, two things. One thing that helped me shift my practice towards not being at war came from the internal family systems model. There was a guided visualization of when you have two parts that are in conflict with one another, is taking, like, being in a room with just one of them and thoroughly understanding it, and then asking that one to leave and going into another room with the other one that's partnered for the conflict and thoroughly understanding it, and then asking the two if they'd be willing to meet together to talk it out. And then being the mediator, you're like the third one in the room mediating that. And it really helped me understand kind of not being in conflict, but holding both of them and having the two understand each other, and then just kind of being the leader of that, and having them be working towards them being advisors to your life rather than trying to dominate your consciousness. Because I would like fuel one, and then the other one would get louder, and I'd fuel the other one, and it would get louder, and it just get more. It just became more and more polarized.
Right.
And even though like I thought one was more truly wiser, and it was like I wanted to shift towards that, it wasn't. I wasn't taking care of the other one, you know, and so it became more and more polarized. And started to blow up more, and finally that guided meditation that I came across really helps me shift towards, you know, shining the light on it and being with it all rather than trying to work through the old way I was doing it.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, so
That's just brilliant.
that was a big shift. Yeah, so my second one's a question is, when I first started coming here, I felt was being taught more like a little more of a focused meditation, like, you know, focusing on the breath and then like using mantras. But then I didn't really feel that well, so then I switched more towards the bare awareness, and I felt a lot better, and like thinking I didn't have the metaphors at the time, but you know, that's a lot more shining the light to me on it. So, but then there's times now where I'm kind of going back where it's like, well, now it would be nice to be a little more focused at times, and I tried to work back in the focus, but it feels a lot more like I'm starting to become at conflict with it. Yeah. So there are times where it's like, well, you know, I don't really have all this time to be like really nurturing all this stuff. Shining light would be good to have a little more focus, but I haven't been able to like not feel in conflict. So I guess what are your thoughts on like using mantras, focusing on the breath? It hasn't really resonated.
Yeah. Oh, it's such a great question. Oh man. Oh, I can do it. There's another talk. Cole, you gotta sit here and give a talk on that internal family systems things. That's awesome. Because Dogen even says parental mind. That's like one of his jams. Parental mind. Like, oh, Dad, which one of us do you love more? Oh, no. We're not going down that road. All right, you two knuckleheads. I'm going to separate you, figure out, you're trying to get a need met, aren't you? Yep, I love you endlessly. You trying to get a need met? Yep, I love you endlessly. Okay, good. Now we've got that established. You two, right? But you're the one who's like, I'm the one who's watching it. There's no war here. You're not at war with each other, you little knuckleheads. Okay, that's the of love. You are correct. Those two things are not in opposition to each other. And you know, I'll buy myself a little bit of insurance by saying, I'm going to speak for just myself right now. I know I'm sitting in the seat, but I'm going to speak for just myself right now because I don't necessarily always understand or agree with the party line, and I'm not even sure what the party line is. Because so does Zen. I don't know. Do we have a party? I don't know. Anyway.
On New Year's.
Yes! Oh! New Year's Eve in a Soto Zen Center, you guys. Oh, we really stare at the wall then. My sense is Ben's a bad influence. In the best possible way. My sense is both of those are really, really useful tools. There is a really, really, really good reason why what's happening in the next room right now at Intro to Zazen is we are being taught the simplest possible thing. Hey, where's your body? Where's your breath? Come back. Hey, where's your body? Where's your breath? Come back. Where's your body? Where's your breath? Come back. That's incredibly important. There are so many things woven into that, it would take all day to actually unpack them. You're actually identifying yourself as the witness. You are the observer of those things. You are therefore not those things. Also, enlightenment is embodied. So if you've lost those two, you've lost all of it. So you can come back to that, you can come back to that. And then at some point you get really good at doing that. And then you start including your awareness, just like in the Satipatthana Sutta. Hey, how are you feeling? Can you be with that? Did you wander? Come back to it. And then after a while, you get really good. You add your impulses and defenses. You gotta add that to the pile. Oh man, I got a big Reuben sandwich going now. All the stuff I gotta come back to. And then eventually, I even add my thoughts to that pile. This is Satipatthana stuff. You Satipatthana, do you know the word? Oh, it's the Enlightenment Sutra. Google it or ask him. The Buddhists are the body, then breath, then emotions, and impulses, and the thought consciousness. Anyway. So the idea is, yes, you keep increasing. What I love about your question is, and I mean this, it's coming from your own experience of going, okay, here's focusing. There's something happening there. There is a value to being able to choose where I want my awareness. I'm going to put it there. I'm going to keep it there for as long as I need it there. That's powerful, right? That's like the magnifying glass in the sunbeam. There's power to that, right? But at some point, what I'm hearing underneath your question is, yeah, but if I'm not understanding or in some way organizing or in some way in more complex relation to the thing that I am observing, then all I really am is just focus. So we're going to go back to family systems theory, which I think is awesome, which is Cole actually going, wait, I have to, I'm aware of you. Yeah, but the family systems meditation you did is going, well, wait, there's something to be understood about the pattern that's showing up. Oh, there's something to be understood over here about the pattern that's showing up. That's bringing karma into view. There's a reason the system exists. It's trying to get a need met. There's something really human happening here that I have to do more than just see, I see you. At some point, this isn't me putting down seeing, it's just realizing at some point I can become a bigger container and go, mindfulness, the ability to just bear witness without any judgment, is huge, and it's step number one. But without understanding, I don't have awareness yet. I just have mindfulness. Oh, I'm aware of it. That means I see it without judgment, and I also understand it. Can you kind of feel that? So you're asking a great question. It ends up being a bit of toggling back and forth, like, I'm thinking of the busy mind. You're just a thought. I'm going to come back to body and breath. Cool. Yeah, you're back again. You want my attention, don't you? All right, fine. What's going on? I'm listening. Come on. It's just like you realizing, oh, you two are fighting. Stop fighting. Oh, you two are fighting. Stop fighting. Oh, there's some juice to this one. All right, come on. Can you feel that that's like you turning toward and going, I want to understand the layers here, because of course you're not my enemy, but you're also just not, it's wanting something. And the cool thing about what you've already figured out, Cole, is all of it's you, right? And that you are the parental mind who gets to go, do you need my attention right now? Do you want me to get closer too? That's fine, I will. Or are we just going to sit and be spacious today, because that's fine too. I don't think of them as being oppositional. I think of them as being right foot, left foot, right foot, left foot. Does this one need more? Does this one need more understanding? Does this one just need to be seen? We start to get a felt sense of what's transforming what we're looking at, and sometimes just seeing it is plenty, and other times, oh, there's a little more, and I've got to play with this one a little bit more. The fact you're already seeing what's enacting change means you're about 3/4 of the way there. Yeah. Does that give you something, or is that does that like completely confuse you and made everything worse?
That makes sense.
Okay, good. Thank you, everybody. I've got